In this episode, I'm once again joined by Dr Nida Chenagtsang, Master of Tibetan Medicine and spiritual teacher of the Yuthok Nyingthig, to discuss Karmamudra, Buddhist spiritual sex. Dr Nida reveals his own training in Karmamudra under Aku Lhamo, the so-called horny professor, and the Longchen Nyingthig nun, Ani Ngawang Gyaltsen. We learn about the difference between Karmamudra and Kamasutra, the role of Tummo and Salung Trulkor training, and the purpose of tantric feats such as Vajroli Mudra, sucking milk and bodily fluids through one's genitals. Dr. Nida talks about sexual abuse by Tibetan Lamas, the prevalence of spiritual gold-diggers, and shares his advice for young tulkus facing the temptations of fame. Dr. Nida also discusses pollution of the energy channels through pornography and promiscuity, how to heal sexual trauma, and why he chose to make these once secret teachings available to the public. So without further ado, Dr. Nida Chenagtsang. Dr. Nida Chenagtsang, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, and Tashidele.
In our previous episode, Heart of a Nomad, we discussed your life story and training growing up in Amdo, Tibet, and all the events that followed. And this time, let's go in a different direction. As well as being a doctor of Tibetan medicine, you're a lineage holder of the Yuthok Nyingthig, a condensed tantric cycle composed by Yuthok Nyingthig Gompo the Younger, especially designed for busy doctors. And you also, as you recounted in the previous interview, received training in Longchen Nyingthig, Dujam Terser, and more. A part of these lineages and a subject of your 2018 book, The Yoga of Bliss, is Karmamudra, which you describe as a profound kind of meditation. It's the art of orgasm and bliss. It is a special practice designed to teach us how to become more mindful during sex and orgasm. Your Karmamudra teacher was Tseshung Lanyan Ropatzel, a wild nomad who you described as a horny professor. He refused to become a monk because he had so much sexual desire, he was worried he would break his vows. And because of his wild and erotic style, many people did not consider him to be a spiritual teacher. Can you tell a little bit the story of your teacher and how it was you came to meet him?
Yeah, so firstly, you said I'm the lineage holder of Yuthok Nyingthig, but I don't know if I'm the lineage holder. I'm a Yuthok Nyingthig practitioner. That's my main practice. And then yeah, there's my teacher. His common name we call Aku Lhamo. Aku means like monk or teacher. Lhamo means his name. Normally Lhamo is a female name, Lhamo Jap, his full name. It means he was saved by the protector, Belden Lhamo. So it's that's why in Amdo we give that name, So we believe somebody is saved by a protector. Mahakala saved ones, we call Gombo Jap. But the ones saved by Belden Lhamo, we call Lhamo Jap. So that's his name. And he was born also in the nomad land. And he met one of the greatest Buddhist scholar, in Amdo, Jisa Lodri Janso. And he wrote many books, and he was an expert, especially Tibetan language and grammar studies and literature and so on. So there, he met his teacher and he studied among many other students. And then, because our teacher Aku Lhamo was very brilliant student, and of course, his teacher wanted he to become a monk. And then, Aku Lhamo was a nomad, and he was very honest. He said, I don't want to cheat you, my teacher, and I don't want to cheat myself, because I know as a young guy, as a young boy, so he had so much sexual desire, and he said, okay, maybe today I can become monk, but I will break my vows maybe within 1 month or a few weeks, So actually he was a very, very honest man, very, very honest man. So when I was about 14 years old, I entered a special school in Naropa. It's called the Teacher Training College. And so actually, when I finished my middle school instead of entering in the high school, we entered in a kind of college. It's a that time we had that kind of college. Then after, I think, that time there was a short of teachers. So they focused, the government, to want to train more teachers. So we entered that kind of teacher training college. And I spent there, 3 or 4 years to complete that study. And so there I met Aku Lhamo because he was the professor there, And it's not, I met at college because he was a professor. He was also a close friend to our father. So when we went to the college and we stayed there in the college, and our father told us, if we need, me and my brother, we went together the same college, and, our father told us if we need any help, we should ask, Aku Lhamo and so on. So then, of course, when we met there, the students are coming from the nomad land, so we call Naropa, nomad kids, and then there are kids of farmer families, so Shingba, or Rompa, we call Rompa and Naropa. So we are like the nomad kids, and then there are farmer kids. So normally we're a little bit kind of divided, because the way we think and the way we do is a little bit different, the nomad kids and the farmer kids. So that's why, of course, for us it's a little bit difficult to connect also the teachers that they are farmers, or they are living in the cities, because we have a little bit different way of thinking and so on. So that's why, when Aku Lhamo, with him, for me, was very easy to connect, very easy to connect. So I'm myself a nomad student, and he was a nomad professor. There's something very, very deeply connected. Yeah. And then when he was actually teaching us Tibetan literature and poems, and he's also a very good writer, very poetic. And when he talk about poems, it's something really, it's not only nice words or this, and he was very expressive. He knows how to express the love, the beauty, the feeling, through the poems and so on. And so that was our official study. But then very often, I went to his house, and he had just like 1-bedroom house or apartment, So he was there, and very often, he invites me to go there, and so we received many direct teachings, like like the one teacher to one student style, So I had that chance. Actually, it was really amazing. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Karmamudra aspect of the training with him? And you mentioned he had that very erotic nature, lots of sexual desire and so on. And that seems to be related to Karmamudra somehow.
And he's already old professor, but of course he's still, I think our personality, maybe horny ones almost the whole life stay horny. Somehow, he has that nature, and that's why he often teases us, he talks about this subject, but of course not in the class. Actually, when also he was talking about poems, in the Tibetan style of poems, there are many poems about prizing the beautiful ladies, He was teaching us the poems, and Tibetan poems are, Dopa. Dopa means prizing. It's very often we focus on this. So that's why if you read the Tibetan, Guru Yogas or Dharma texts, there are lots of prayers. And actually the prayers are very poetic. And this is a part of Tibetan culture. Really, Tibetans, they love to write the poems, and they express all their emotions from poems, So one of my brother, Dorje Tsering, or his pen name is Jampu, he's a very famous writer. And he often says, in Tibet, who doesn't write poems? Somehow it's true, like everybody is a poet, and it's a Tibetan culture, everybody loves the poems. So that's why when Aku Lhamo told us the poems, and when he taught us the poems, it's very expressive, you know. For example, there is a way to say kelmelma. Kelmelma means, without the waist, waist. And so this is an expression of the beauty. Actually, it's interesting. That time we were young, I didn't have any ideas of expression beauty, but now I know all models. They want to have a very slim belly and very tiny hair. So that's an expression, Tibetan expression of beauty. So he says like, can you imagine like a two, like a beautiful breast, they are like protruding, and then lower part there's a two kind of protruding like like how do you call it, big ass, or the hip and gluteo. And then he says maybe if you look at this girl or the lady, like you almost have a feeling like there is no, they are kind of separated, there is no connection. So the way he expressed that kind of, like the beauty, it's something very alive, or very organic. And then he says, oh, this is the definition of beauty and this and that. He talks about, women's body and this. You see, like he's in this very, very, very expressive, when he was teaching that. And then, but in the class, he does not say much. But when he's teaching the poems and these things, you really feel it, how much he's in this about beauty, about women and these things. But then in privately, when I go to his place, then he talks a lot, about these things. And then also I ask him to teachings. First, the teachings I start with Dope Tenchu. Dope Tenchu is Karmashastra, it's a Tibetan version of Kamasutra. So he talks about Kamasutra, it's more like prevalence, teaching. He talks about Kamasutra, and then there I ask about Karmamudra, and then he gave more explanations about Karmamudra. And then he often asks me, he said, oh, like maybe we should, like go out together. And what do you say? And he said, oh, you are like a young boy, maybe you can like, you can invite other ladies. And then he's kind of teasing, I can demonstrate the or to give you the teachings how to practice these things, kind of joking and also kind of real. We had this kind of very interesting moments. And once he said, oh, if you can find any, like beautiful girls or women, you should bring to me. So then that time I was young, and I met another like a young girl, and she's kind of very, how do you say, I don't know, she's very maybe sexually active, I don't know. She approached to me, so I was not ready for this kind of things. I was a little bit like concerned. I said, oh, and then I thought, oh, maybe I should bring her to Aku Lhamo. So I said, oh, I said, oh, I can feel like you are interested in me, but I said, I don't have experiences. I was very young. And then I said, but, I know one of my teacher has experiences. Maybe he can teach us something and this. So then I invited her. We went together to meet Aku Lhamo. And then Aku Lhamo said, why you are here with her? I said, you told me, and I can bring anyone. And he said, no, you should not bring like young girls. Maybe she was a teenager. So she was very clear about these things, student, teacher and student relationship, and also the, how do you say, minority, how do you call it? The underage, younger than 18, how do you call it?
Minor.
Yeah, minor, yeah. He was very clear about this, So these things, he said, no, you don't mix these things, like as a teaching, we have to be very clear. Yeah, so I was, how do you say, in my head, I thought, okay, like I have no experiences. And then maybe I thought maybe Aku Lhamo, maybe he can practice with her, as like a young student. That was is not I want to practice with her. So I was a little bit shy, and I never had experiences. I was only talking these things. So this, and then later Aku Lhamo, he gave me more teachings about in the Karmamudra part. So I told him, because I don't have experiences, he said, oh, don't bring these minors to me, and he was very clear. He said this. And then another story, funny thing is, one of our classmates, she's also from nomadic area. She asked me, she said, oh, I know her mother is here, and according to you, your classmate, she's beautiful, or her mother is more beautiful? Then I said, Aku Lhamo, for me, the daughter is beautiful. Of course, she's young and my age, this and that. And then he was laughing. He said, yeah, I prefer elder ones. And so he's saying, for me, it's the elder ones are more pretty. And so this is the how, like we had a very personal, relationship, As I said, we are both nomad, and we are very close. And this, and then, actually, I didn't have any, sexual, experiences, even not ordinary one. So that's why then Aku Lhamo started to give me the teachings about Kamasutra. Normally we say Dope Tenchu, and there's a book from Genden Chumpen. It was very popular. So he was quoting some teachings from there, this and that. And then I asked him about tantric part, Karmamudra. You see Kama Sutra, from Kama Sutra to Karmamudra. And then, so this is how he gave me the teachings.
Many people are familiar, at least indirectly, with the Karma Sutra. To most people's minds, the Karma Sutra is tantric sex, involves many hours of lovemaking, multiple orgasms, or maybe sublimated orgasms, and so on. I think to most in the popular mind, Karma Sutra is tantric sex. In your chapter, Clarifying Confusion, you emphasize that Karma Mudra is not the same as Karma Sutra. Could you perhaps explain the difference between these two categories of teachings?
They are different teachings, but they can have similar base too, because for me, Kama Sutra is sex education, right? Like in the West, we had the sex revolution, and the beginning of last century, right, with Sigmund Freud, and all these great, psychologists or psychiatrists, they wrote about sex, and they, they opened this subject, so they call it sex revolution. And then sex is becoming more like an open subject, or I would say is becoming part of our education system. So that's why I think in ancient Indian tradition, so Karmamudra is the one of the oldest sex education, So it's, some people, they think, oh, Kama Sutra is only about positions and this and that, and maybe it's more spiritual way because there are some temples about Kama Sutra and so on. So I really see it as a very precise education system. So probably we can say one of the first human sex education is Kama Sutra, And in the sexual intercourse, the positions are important, but then there's the intimacy and understanding and, sharing the experience together, the orgasm of, love and respecting each other. I think these things are really, really important, So that's why I would say Kama Sutra, it's a basic sex education book. I think it is very, very important. And then Karmamudra is more advanced, It's not only, we should just get stuck this physical level and physical aspect and this physical orgasmic part, we should not get stuck there. And we have to go beyond of that. So that part is not mentioned by Kama Sutra. So that's why Kamasutra is more kind of karmic. It means more physical, more kind of really physical, the physical position, the physical experiences. And so much things are kind of involved in this physical part. And Karmamudra, we have the physical part too, but at end we have to go beyond of the physical part, right? We have to go beyond. And I think both of them, we are talking about mindful sex, in a spiritual aspect. Kama Sutra is talking about how it's important to be mindful, and Karma Mudra exactly the same. We have to be mindful. And then probably in the Kama Sutra is not talking about, starting from the self, partner, and experience, your experience and your partner's experience. But Kama Mudra, there's a self and partner, and there's a complete union, and that union is transcends from self. So then from the self, you are reaching the selflessness, the state of selflessness, right? Let's put this way, in a very simple way. In the Buddhist tradition, we talk about emptiness, right? Shunyata, emptiness or voidness, and selflessness. In Buddhism, we talk about self, but then we have to reach the state of selflessness, that mepa, free from self. And so also the reason in the Buddhism, normally we talk why the attachment is dangerous, because when we are attached to ourself, and this can cause all kind of problems, or that can be cause of the pain and the suffering. So that's why we cannot get stuck with this self, right? We cannot get stuck with this self. Then what we can really do is we using this self, and we achieve the state of the selflessness, Dharmepa. So that's why in the Karma Mudra, it's compared to Kama Sutra, is much more profound, Do you understand? It's very, very, when we say karma, it's a karma, the physical body, and mudra means your karmic partner. So that's why you have a karmic partner. And when you have a partner, you transcend from self, because you have a partner too. Then you cannot think only one, you have to think two. So you unify these two, you and your partner together, and then generates the joy or the bliss, and then that helps us to transcend from the self. So transcendental, and that's why once we transcend from the self, and then of course also we transcend from the partner. So it's directly, reaching the non-dual state. Okay, so that's why the Karma Mudra is very profound. Kama Sutra, they don't talk this much. But it's as a great Tibetan master, Jumipam, he said, once you become an expert with Kama Sutra, then Karma Mudra is much easier for you. So he talks about Kama Sutra can be the first stage, and Karma Mudra is the second stage. I like that, his expression.
Karmamudra is often presented as part of the 6 yogas of Naropa, and sometimes it's presented as, or seen as, the means to move from Tummo to the illusory body practices. I'm thinking of Tsongkhapa's presentation of that. And indeed, when you learned Karma Mudra, you also learned Karma Mudra from Ani Ngawang Gyaltsen. I presume that was in the context of the 6 yogas of Naropa. It seems that when you learned with Aku Lhamo, the teachings were given in a more ad hoc basis and not part of a complete system like that. Is that fair to say?
Experiential part. So yeah, when we learned, it's like this, when you mentioned about 6 yogas, so in this case, normally in 6 yogas, we don't talk directly Karma Mudra. So that's why, for example, in the Yuthok 6 yoga, it's very clear. First, we have 2 yogas for daytime. So Tummo and illusory body or magic body yoga. And then we have 2 yogas in the night, dream yoga and clear light yoga. And then 2 yogas, the moment of death or after life. So Poa and Bardo. So those are called 6 yogas. And then in Yuthok system, it's very clear. First, we have 6 yogas. Once you get trained in the 6 yogas, and then you practice 2 mudras, the Karmamudra and Mahamudra. And and many other texts, this part of expression is not that clear, you know. So that's why, so in a very simple way, what we need to know is first you get trained in the Tummo, and the Tummo is a preparation for Karmamudra. And then, so in this case, you have to train very well that you can, you can have the experience of the Tummo and the blissful heat. You know, you generate the heat and then you melt your tigle and then you experience that, you know, the tigle is the bliss and you can experience that bliss. And this practice, the experience is very similar to like orgasmic state or pre-orgasmic state, you know. Before the orgasm, people, you know, the heart is beating fast and the body temperature is rising. And then the joy or the pleasure is intensified, right? Intensified and so on. And so that feeling is very close to Tummo. But normally Tummo, you do it more mentally, you know, mentally you generate that heat and you experience and so on. So it's kind of a perfect preparation for Karmamudra. And then when you Tummo fire, you melt the tigle and you have the experiences and so on. So for that, then there's a physical training too. We call Trulkor. So you should do lots of physical exercises too, right? But it's not all Tummos. You have to do physical exercises too. So some Tummos, they are more mental level. Some are more like breathing, the holding breath, and some are more the physical one, you know, Trulkor. And so that's why, in any case, we know it very clearly that Tummo, you know, in the 6 yogas, we say Tummo is the cornerstone. And it's the foundation of other yogas. So it's very important. So in this case, also, it's very clear that once you are highly trained in Tummo, and then your next step, if you continue with Tummo, your next step is Karmamudra. And so in the Karmamudra, then we have the 2 types. You know, one is the Karmamudra itself, you know, with a Karmamudra means with physical partner, or Jnanamudra means imaginary partner. So my teacher, the Nun Anila, she gave me the teachings, but of course in her practice is she's doing the Jnanamudra practice, you know. She taught me about Jnanamudra, the system, right? Jnanamudra, the system. And then, so that's why, how do you say, in the Tibetan tradition, we have the scholar style and we have the great, like Mahasiddha style, you know. Mahasiddha style means the experiential part, and scholar style is according to the text. So I can say that according to the text I received from Ani Ngawang, that's the classical official training part, but then experiential part and, you know, the, how do you say, the actual practice is coming from Aku Lhamo. Actually, I think today, you know, the actual Karmamudra itself is not taught publicly. I think one is because everywhere, you know, they see the sex as a taboo, and even in the Tibetan tradition, they see that. And yeah, they're great masters still today. You know, some masters even in the text, there are some texts, even there is this Karmamudra part. They say, oh, that's, you know, that's not important now, or, you know, you don't need that now, or that's not for the public, or like this. They kind of skip and they jump, right? For instance, this Naropa's Mahamudra teaching, you know, the song of Ganga River. So he teaches very clearly about the Mahamudra, about the state of mind, you know, the realization of the ultimate nature of mind and so on. So he give a perfect Mahamudra teaching. But at the end, he says, if you don't understand the Mahamudra, then you practice Karmamudra. But then in his Karmamudra practice, also says very clearly that we have to melt our tigle, it's coming in the four. Tigle is falling down, and then you hold it, and then you reverse it, wab zong dog jam. So we have the four words. And he actually mentioned these words, and he says then this practice will be helpful and help you to understand the nature of Mahamudra. So Telopa says it very, very clearly, But what I'm saying this is today the most of the Mahamudra teachers, and they teach Mahamudra, but once they come in that part of the Karmamudra, they skip it, This says, this is for, it's an enhancer practice. Oh, this is, it's like, it's about Karmamudra, but we don't need it. Or, it's kind of, they skip it. I think it's a really pity. I think it's really, really pity, And there are different great masters. They express in a different way about Mahamudra and Karmamudra. So I mentioned this Telopa's view because I think that is very essential. Because why the reason Telopa, he mentioned the Karmamudra, end of the Mahamudra, he mentioned it because he's saying, if you get the Mahamudra, you don't need Karmamudra. But if you don't get the Mahamudra, you need Karmamudra. Do you understand? It's something very clear. And the same way in the Yuthok Nyingthig system, it's very clear. Yuthok Nyingthig system, it's very clear because Yuthok talks about Karmamudra, with Zalung, with yogic exercises, long la kombi, Nyamlintang, long la makumba means the Karmamudra practice. He actually mentioned like two parts. One is the Karmamudra practice, the ones who are trained in the Trulkor on advanced yogic systems, and the Karmamudra, the ones who are not trained in the advanced yogic, physical yogic trainings. And he mentioned, two types of Karmamudra. And also he says that this type of Karmamudra for young people and who have like more sexual desires and who want to practice this, they should do the Karmamudra practice. But then there's some people, maybe maybe because of their vows, they are celibate, they can't practice this, or maybe they are, too old, or maybe there are some people, that physically is, we call it a sexual dysfunction, or some people from the birth, they do not have any feelings, pleasure. They don't see that sex is something joyful or pleasure, these things. Maybe because of their drama. It can be also because of their their physical conditions, right? So then he says, if you are in these cases, because of your vow is the celibacy, or you're a monk or nun, or maybe you're too old, maybe your physical body or mentally not, you are not allowed or unable to practice. And then he says you practice Karmamudra. So that's why I like the things. So Telopa says, okay, you try with Mahamudra. It doesn't work, you go in Karmamudra. And Yuthok says, okay, you focus on Karmamudra, but in a way, somehow you cannot practice Karmamudra, then you practice Mahamudra. So it is, if you put these two systems together, it's actually really makes sense, But today we know, of course, Karmamudra is a secret practice, right? Exactly same like Mahamudra. Mahamudra is a secret practice too. But there are many great masters, publicly they are teaching Mahamudras today. And we can find many Mahamudra books, commentaries, translations. And so Mahamudra teaching is spread everywhere. And then when it come to the karma mudra, says, oh, karma mudra is secret, and actually karma mudra is not more secret than mahamudra. I think they're equally secret, right? So chakja chenpo and lech chakja. So they are both, that's the Tibetan name for mahamudra and karma mudra. They are both secret. And but I think because of this, the reason why the karma mudra is not publicly taught, and we don't talk much, is one is because of the taboo of the sex. I think that's one of the main reason. And then the other one is many people, they think in order to practice karma mudra, you must highly trained in the yogic exercises. So we call it the Zalong Trulkor. And now everybody's saying nobody is highly trained or qualified in the yogic exercises in Zalong Trulkor. So that's why no one is allowed to teach and practice karma mudra. Okay. In some traditions, which is true, in order to practice the karma mudra, you must get trained in the Tummo practice and yogic exercises and so on. And once you're completely ready, you are able to hold your energy, you are able to bring up your energy or hooking back your energy, reversing your energy, and then you are ready for karma mudra. Okay, that is true. That is the classical way to explain, or classical way to train the karma mudra. But also it is true, there's other part of karma mudra. It's purely like experiential. We don't need to go through this. And so that's why Yuthok said, okay, the karma mudra practice for Zalung experienced practitioners, and Karmamudra practice for non-Zalung experienced practitioners. So I really like the way he made that very clear. And then later, after Yuthok and some great masters, they talked about Karmamudra in a different way too. And one great master from my hometown in Repkong, Kamla Namka Gyatso, a great and crazy yogic master, and he wrote a great text about karma mudra. And in this text, and he talks about this Ati yoga style of karma mudra. So when they use that name, Ati yoga style of karma mudra, means the karma mudra practice, direct experience of karma mudra, which is not connected or with the Zalong Trulkor exercises. So it means even you are not highly trained in the Zalong Trulkor, you can still practice karma mudra in a very experiential way, So that's why they call it Ati Yoga style. Also in my book, I quoted one of this teaching from Togden Shakchashiri, Togden Shakchashiri. And that's Togden Shakchashiri's teaching, first time it was mentioned, and for me, it's experiential way taught by Aku Lhamo. He mentioned it and he taught it. And so that time I just know the way, the experiential way, how it goes and teachings and that. But I was I didn't read and I didn't go into that practices, right? But later when in my practice and this, then I really realized that part is very, very important. And the reason I put that in my book is to really let people know Togden Shakchashiri was a highly qualified master, great master, both in Mahamudra tradition and Ati Yoga Dzogpa Chenpo tradition. So everybody, from all schools, the great masters, they respect him. So that's why I thought it's very important, to show publicly that a great master like Togden Shakchashiri, and he actually mentioned, this, Ati Yoga style. direct experiential of Karmamudra practices. So yeah, that's why I think it is important to know this part of the Karmamudra. Otherwise, some people says, oh no, without the Tummo, without Zalong, no Karmamudra. This is becoming like a kind of like a formula, and that's why, and many people are saying, oh, the Karmamudra tradition is lost and nobody practiced Karmamudra. Yeah, Karmamudra, we had it, but we don't talk it now, this and that, right? We cannot say, oh yeah, sex, ancient people, they had it and we don't have it. We can't have it. We can't say, actually, what I said, this, Trupching Luktang, Kepe Luk in Tibetan, I think this to understand this two thing, I think is very, very important. Even Je Tsongkhapa, Tsongkhapa, as you know, he was one of the top brilliant, Tibetan Buddhist scholar, tantric Buddhist scholar. So that's why when he talked about tantric teachings, he's so precise, and so systematic, so precise, and he quotes very precise quotations from great Indian masters, and so on. And one of his teaching about Tummo, and he says there are different systems for Tummo, and he says some of them, they are Trupchingalu. So they are the Mahasiddha, the great yogis style. And that's why he says, then you don't need to prove that in a very philosophical way, theoretical way. And he said, these great Mahasiddhas, great masters, and they achieved enlightenment. And then, so there is a reason how they presented the teachings in a kind of simple and direct way, not too much philosophical and theoretical. And, how do you say, like confirming every word you say is, I'm saying the right word because of Nagarjuna, because of Chandrakurti, because of Buddha, because of this, because of that Tantra. Do you understand? But then some people, they love these things, intellectual people, and now also today, there are some people, they love this kind of intellectual part. They want to know everything so precisely, and what is right and what is wrong and this and that. So for them, I think like a great master like Je Tsongkhapa, his teachings, tantric teachings, I think it's perfect. But then some other people, we are not that intelligent, or also in a way, what matters for us is the practice and experience, right? It's not so much running after who is right and who is wrong. So then it's more experiential. And so that's why it's a Mahasiddha. That's why in the Mahasiddhas, they are not saying, oh, because of Nagarjuna said this is right. Or because Nagarjuna didn't say that is wrong. And they did the practice and they had experiences, and then they know how to teach and how to transmit that teachings, and they did that way. Right? So that's why I think it's very important to understand these two kind of way of teaching and transmitting. If we understand these two way, then we don't need to struggle much, and we don't need to fight much about who's right and who is wrong.
Yeah. In your book, you make that distinction between the practices that require, the Karmamudra practices that require a grounding in Tsalung, Trulkor, and so on, and those that don't. And you write about the Vajroli Mudra. The Vajroli Mudra is a kind of urethral suction technique that requires strong control over the urogenital muscles. The texts say that when a male practitioner urinates, before the urine even touches the floor, he should, by flexing his muscles, be able to suck it up again, immediately back in his bladder. Some texts say that a male practitioner should be able to draw a whole container of milk up through his penis. Similar requirements are listed for women. Female Karmamudra practitioners should be able to suck milk up into their bodies through their vaginas as well. You mentioned later to do with ejaculate in your discussion of semen retention. You say in some practices, one pulls up the red and white tigle together. For example, the man first ejaculates his semen into the woman's vagina, and then pulls this up again along with the red essence secretions and spreads this out. You do not teach those practices in the book. You focus on the practices that don't require that previous training in tantric yoga. But I'm curious, what is the role of those advanced practices? What's their purpose and effect over and above what can be achieved with the more Hatha yoga style of Karmamudra training?
Well, so the Karmamudra part of practice and Yuthok Nyingthig is very clear. That's part of Tile training. So when we do the Tummo, illusory body, those are training of our channels and our energies, lung energies. So once we trained our body as a channel and our energy, as a mantra or lung, then we have to train our mind. So when we train our mind, we are talking about the Tile. And so Tile is like a kind of, essential fluids. And so according to Tantra, that's connected with mind, So when we experience joy and bliss, that Tile is increased. And when we experience sadness and, dullness, that Tile is decreased. So it's very important to work with that Tile. And then this Tile can have, for example, we have one is called the Zech Tile. Zech Tile means this essential fluid, bindu. Sanskrit is bindu. Bindu, like substantial bindu, is something more like physical. Actually, in my book, like according to me, those substantial tiles are hormones, the love hormones or the happy hormones. And so we talk about this zeg tile, the substantial tile, and those tiles are specially used, for people who have desire and attachment. When we talk about desire and attachment, in our life, we have many different kinds of desires and attachments, but sex desire and attachment is one of the most powerful one, okay? So, so that's why, let's say, horny people or people with lots of sex energy, then we talk more about the zeg tile, the substantial tile, or not substantial, the substances, tile about substances, which means there are some, we have some, like, let's say, chemical substances. Those chemical substances are responsible for our mood, for our feelings like joy, happy, and bliss, and so on. So that's why I'm convinced, and the tantric text, they're talking about this happy and love hormones. And then we have the ngaki tile. Ngari is the mantra tile, and the ngaki tile is more, we use the mantras, chanting mantras and so on. These ones are used for more, angry people, right? So at end, we're always talking about attachment, anger, and ignorance, 3 mental poisons. So this substantial tile is used for people with desire, and the mantra tile is more for people with anger. And then we have lungi tile. Lungi tile, the energy tile, is people with more ignorance, okay? So that's why in the tile, this part I didn't put in my book, but I thought a little bit pity, I have to make it a little bit clear about also tile. In any case, generally speaking, what I wrote in my book is I was talking about this zeg tile, the tile of the substances. And that tile is very much connected with, with the desire and so on. And then, so this tile, the nature of that tile is the bliss, dewa. Tibetan is dewa, like sukha, the joy or bliss, or also in our ordinary feeling is like the pleasure feeling, right? And then when we talk this tile, so there is a white one and a red one. And so that's why this tile is also, we can say, the essence of solar energy and the lunar energy, the essence of the sun and the moon. So in this case, man and woman, so one have sun and one have moon. So with this practice, actually we are mixing this solar energy and lunar energy, and then like, we within ourselves, we can complete ourselves, right? We can complete ourselves. So there are some deities, there are male and female deities together, but we think there are two deities. Actually, this is the expression of one deity. It is one, but manifesting as a two. It means we are by ourselves, we see ourselves as a single, but in the tantric, we are already union, One part is the solar energy, one part is the lunar energy. And when we feel that we are, separated from others or from our partners, we are not union, and that is the problem. So I think somehow also in the Indian Hatha yoga, it's kind of talking about this part. And the Hatha yoga is sun and the moon, right? Hatha yoga is sun and the moon. And yoga means union. So then in this case, what does it mean? Hatha yoga means union of sun and the moon, right? So this is exactly in the Tummo we are talking. So union of the solar energy, you increase it. The solar energy, you increase it, that melts lunar energy. And the fire melts the butter. And then the butter drips in the fire, and the force is completely unified together. Then the heat is increased and the bliss is increased. So that's the basic theory of Tummo. So that's why in Tummo, we need to increase the Tummo fire. It means we need to increase the solar energy. And the more you increase the solar energy, the more the lunar energy is melted together, right? So why we have to do this melting process, burning and melting process? The more you melt, the more you burn, the more unifies, unifies completely together, right? So then, I'm just telling the name. I don't practice Hatha yoga, but everybody knows about Hatha yoga. In a very theoretical way, if you explain that name of Hatha yoga, actually unify solar and the lunar energy together, right? And that is the Tummo practice. And this is also the foundation of the Karmamudra practice. So that's why man and woman, one have man and one have sun, right? So we put them together, and then you bring it up and then you spread in your body. So we can mix our sun and the moon together too. We have solar and lunar. We can do only that part too. So if we do only that kind of solo practice, it's called the Jnanamudra. Then, we don't need to have a physical partner. We have only an imaginary or meditative partner. And you do that practice with a meditative partner, and you mix your own solar and lunar energy together, and then you are completed, right? You are completed. And then you are not alone. Then you are not single anymore. Then you are free from loneliness. You are free from sadness. Do you understand? And you get bliss by yourself. So many meditators, they get this kind of thing. And then, in this part of practice, we call it the Zorim. Zorim is completion stage or perfection stage. So if you reach that level, solar and the lunar are completely mixed together, and then you complete yourself, right? You perfected yourself. So the perfectionism is not coming externally, it is our inner quality. And also the perfecting your spiritual journey is you can do it by yourself. You don't need to do with somebody else, or you don't need to chase others to perfect yourself. Do you understand? Today, in our ordinary life, also there are some people, they say, oh, I don't find a partner, without partner I'm not happy, without partner I'm this and that, right? They think that partner gives the perfection part, but physically it is true. If we are somebody with our partners in love and this and that, that gives the perfection of that moment, right? So that's why in Karmamudra, we need to find our physical partner too. But then the ones who does Jnanamudra, it's not always that the case, it's not always we need a partner, that with the partner only we are happy. When we are single or alone, we are not happy, this and that. So some people, they can get this inner, your own partner and your own bliss and your own completeness or the perfectionness, perfection state. So that's why I think also it's very, very beautiful, this practice, how it's presented as a Karmamudra and Jnanamudra, both way. So then, and some of let's say, your genitals in the warm, warm milk and water mix, and you can suck this, this we can say more like a muscle training. And some people, they can do it. And there's some, even you see in Thailand, there are some people, it's a show off for them. It's the business. They're using like genital muscles. They do incredible things, right? Do you understand? So that's a similar. When I say these things, some people say, no, is it possible? You can train your genital muscles. This, oh yeah. If you go to Thailand, if you see one of those, the sex show, it is a business, but you see that how much they can train their muscles and how much they can do, right? So yeah, some of this we can explain through the function of the muscles and muscle training and so on. And then some others, your peeing is already coming out and sucking back, and that's even beyond of the muscle functions. So then we talk about the lung energy, the subtle wind energy. So the lung energy goes out, and it is with your mind. When your mind does it, and then actually it can affect, the physical dimension too. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that done?
In a very, very simple way, in a very, very simple way. What I say is, how do you say? Yeah, it is everything. It's a training question. Yeah, physically sucking back the urine. I never saw one. Yeah, I never saw one. And the one I mentioned, this the Karmamudra master from my hometown, the great yogi. And it says he can put his penis in a white conch and he blow up the conch. He's pushing, he put his air there through the penis and then, ooh, right? So yeah, of course, for us, we believe in these stories and this and that. But I was wondering, how much physically, really medically, you can put your air there and this and that. But then I saw one in YouTube. I saw one in Thailand. This one of the sex show. They are doing this. The men and women. They actually do. They put different instruments there. They put the air inside, and it reminded me that story. So actually, the funny thing is, many things what we say, oh, in Karmamudra, they are like kind of miracles, and highly yogis and yoginis can do this. Today, you can see this in the sex shows, yeah, the muscle training. Yeah. It is interesting. Some people, they really think these things are only the highly trained masters, they can do it. But muscle training, it's a muscle training. You can see many things today. And that is, I think maybe we should not consider those are the miracles, those are the miracles, right? I think the real miracle is you are really able to infuse your solar and lunar energy together. And then you're experiencing that kind of complete, long-lasting bliss or orgasmic state, within yourself. Or if you do in the partner, that you guys are in that kind of blissful state, and in a, how do you say, so it have to be like a transcendental. It transcends from self and transcends from your partner, right? It's transcendental, it transcends. And then also long-lasting, right? And the confusion between the orgasm and the great bliss, you know. Orgasm, everybody knows the orgasm. It is a very high tense, you know, intense and very joyful pleasure experiences. But we also know it's very short. It's pity. And so that's why when I talked about orgasm, some people are criticizing me. Says, oh, you know, the bliss is not orgasm. But I'm saying bliss doesn't contradict with orgasm, or the blissful state, the Mahasukha, the great bliss doesn't have any problems with orgasm. So the orgasm itself, our ordinary orgasm, is the sign that we, in ourselves, we have this great bliss. It's a sign, you know, right? We need to have this kind of signs. Our body shows us, you know, we have this nature within ourselves. And it a way does, you know, it is, you know, so it's a sign, and it is also the proof, right? Very often people say, oh, when in Mahamudra, we say, oh, the nature of mind is the great bliss. And then maybe many people say, so prove it, you know, right? In my mind, you know, I don't feel anything, or my mind is confused. You always says, Dewa Chimbo, you know, right? Dewa Chimbo, you always says clear light. Prove us, what is the light? Where is the light? Prove us, where is the bliss? Actually, orgasmic state is the proof, because it's coming in our mind. Actually, mind itself is manifesting in that state, and that is the proof. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to have to choose one from my many list of questions here. So you talk a lot in the book about the prevalence of abuse by religious figures, Karmamudra as a way to seduce their students. And in fact, that's one of the justifications you give for revealing details about this traditionally quite secret practice. And you write, there are some Tibetan Buddhist gurus today, both male and female, who have sex with many of their students and call it Karmamudra. But I think that these teachers do not really know what Karmamudra is and simply want to have sex with attractive young men and women. Some of the stories you hear about what these teachers do with their students also suggest that they don't really have much idea about how to have good quality or consensual sex either. Sometimes some people are thirsty and they just have to drink water right away. But of course, the problems start when such teachers get a lot of power and start abusing it and demanding that their needs be met. All sorts of suffering follows. That's the end of the quote. In some Karmamudra text, it seems that sex between the guru and student is a part of the education process. And indeed, sometimes it's written that sometimes one's guru has sex with one's own partner for educational purposes. In the West, I think, especially in these days, in modern culture, it's culturally held that a teacher, rightly or wrongly, it's culturally held that a teacher should never have sex with their student. In the same way, a doctor should not have sex with their patient, for example. A therapist should not have sex with their client. And the rationale is, as I'm sure you're aware, to do with a conflict of interests between the professional and the personal, and to do with power dynamics. Of course, quite often lamas marry their students today. I'm thinking of Michael Ash's Yogini project, in which he documented in video interview form the stories of many wives of lamas, how they met and so on. And almost all the stories are explicitly to do with the teacher-student relationship. Many of the great lamas in America, for instance, with American wives, they were first a teacher-student situation. That's what the Yogini project focused on. I'm curious what your view about all of that is, and when, if ever, should a teacher have sex with their students? And is there a role for that in the Karmamudra teaching?
Well, firstly, before we talk about sex, we have to talk about love. Yes, there are many rules and regulations and a law about sex, you know, teacher, student, doctor, patient, therapist, the patient, and these things, many rules. But if love happens, love is beyond of any laws and any rules. And so if teacher and student, they are in love, patient and doctor, they are in love, who can stop that? Do you understand? I don't think love is logic. We try to do best, to follow the rules and this and that. So the dynamic is coming both sides, right? Dynamic is coming both sides. Patient or doctor or teacher or student. If there's a love chemistry, right?
In America, if a doctor does act on that love, they quite often may lose their license to practice medicine, for example. That can happen. Therapists, that happens a lot.
Well, yeah, some of them, they get married, they become couples, right?
True.
And I'm sure that if they're in love, they know how to handle their relationship too. So yeah, sometimes, of course, the love can become drama and huge dramas and so on. But so that's why I think we should separate two things. One is the love story, one is the real sexual abuse. I think that's very important to make it clear. And maybe some love stories might end up badly, and that's why the story comes as a sexual abuses too. So that's why we really need to have a very clear understandings. And I know there are many sexual abuses around, but also I don't believe they are all stories. Do you understand? As you said, like power dynamic, power dynamic. And then the teacher had the power and power dynamic want to have sex with the student, or maybe students' power craving. I call it a spiritual gold digger. I don't know if you like that word or not.
I do. I like it.
There are maybe many students, both men and women, they are spiritual gold diggers, and so they think maybe this is a way they receive blessing, maybe this is a way to get power, this is a way to get close to somebody. I don't know, it can happen, right? Gold digger mentality, it's a gold digger mentality. It can happen for gold, for money, and for spiritual, for anything. So that's why I think it is a very, it's not just simple. It is very easy to blame somebody. Okay, sexual abuse, right? It's very easy, sexual abuse. Yes. Oh, yes, sexual abuse between doctor and the patient. Of course, it's a doctor's mistake. Okay, sexual abuse, therapist. Yes, it's therapist's mistake. Yes, teachers and students. Yes, it's teacher's mistake. Do you understand? The how our mind works, and more or less it's the way, more or less it functions that way. But we really don't know what is the dynamic energy happening with these two people, and how much love is involved, how much understanding is involved. So that's why, yeah, I'm happy you asked me this question. And but what I really say is, at end, involving professional people to really investigate, to understand it clearly. And I think that is the only solution. Do you understand? As we just say, okay, this sexual abuse here, there, and every story has two sides, right? Every story has two sides. You are talking the ones, the masters who are married with their students. I think that's the good stories, the good result. I'm sure, I don't think it's only because of, how do you say, the power and this and that. So once you marry, and mostly it's based on the love, right? So the love and commitment and this and that. And I don't think it's something illegal or something is bad. I think it's good. You have love, you got married, you found your Karmamudra partner and this and that. I think that's perfect. But problem part is this, the abuse, the stories. I think in this part, we have in Buddhism, we have this jegum. Jegum means analytic meditation. Analytic meditation. It means we have to analyze better, case by case. We have to make it very clear. And it's not only the, how do you call it, the spiritual gold digger mentality. There is also involvement of mental issues. Do you understand? So there, maybe many people, they have different mental issues, mental problems, and because of these mental issues in both sides, can make us to get involved in the big mess too. Okay, so that's why I'm sure there is a real like sexual abuse in the name of Buddhism and spiritual tradition. That's for sure. I know this myself too, because I often talk with my patient, and actually I was asked by quite a few of Buddhist practitioners, Vajrayana practitioners, and they ask me, they are saying, oh, is it normal in Vajrayana Buddhism, like your teacher asks you to go to in bed together, and then it's not to go to bed. It's like I know one case, this lady was in love with him, with her master, and then her master, maybe, I don't know, had many partners. Master is not interested in the love story, but she's interested in love story. So that's why she feels hurt. She feels hurt, and then she asks me, "Is it that something Tibetan cultural?" Of course, there is a big gap, the cultural understanding about sexuality, sex relation, this and that. Right? I'm sure also in the West, there are some cultural traditions that are very strict about these things, very secretive, and they say it's something very personal. But some other cultures are more relaxed, right? Even same thing in Tibet. My place in the nomadic area, we are not so paranoid about these things, and especially I'm not saying about other things. I'm saying, like, for example, like my cousin, she got pregnant 15, 16 years old, and her parents is not paranoid. They don't care much. They say, okay, she got pregnant, and they want to know who is the father. And she denied. She didn't want to say. I don't know, maybe she had a few boyfriends. She didn't know. But they even don't want to force her to say, okay, you have to say, and who is this and that, It's okay, our daughter is pregnant, and daughter is pregnant. That's it. She doesn't want to say who's the father, okay. Let's go on, let's move on, So that's why we don't have too much about this, how do you say, the craziness about, okay, somebody's pregnant, and okay, this and that. So that's why I'm sure there is a big, like a cultural gap too, cultural understanding too, right? So yeah, unfortunately, as I wrote, they're about sexual abuses, and especially the ones who is sleeping around, with many people using the name of Karmamudra. This for me, it disturbs, because that's why I thought, okay, if people are really interested in Karmamudra, you read the book, we need more education. And if also the student, they think, okay, my teacher is having some reactions, or, this showing some interest in this, okay, Karmamudra, I'm not ready. You're allowed to think that way. But then the problem is to who you ask, where you get informations. Do you understand? I think that was the problem. And that's why when those people, they come to me, they ask me, oh, in Tibetan tradition is like that. Oh, in the Tibetan Buddhism, you have to sleep with your teacher if he or she asks you. It's not only man's part, also women's part, Do you understand? So it is becoming a big issue and obstacle. That is the one of the reason I wrote the book, and also one of the main reason I want to make it public, because I was hoping it can become as a educational tool. It's a kind of education people can read and understand. And also the historically, like some, some Karmamudra masters, they wanted, you know, this sex relation or Karmamudra practice with their students or these other people. But there are also stories, these other people can refuse it, right? But I think like today, it's little bit we know some part is like kind of overreacting, right? Like sex harassment and sexual abuse, verbal abuse, power abuse. You know the people who are saying, oh, that one is power abusing, verbal abusing, psychological abusing, you know. And the truth is, those people, they say, oh, somebody's abusive, and they are abusing that word of abuse. Do you understand? That's the big craziness, They really, some people are so focused, or sexist, or narcissist, or abuser, and this. They are so crazy all about these things. You know, they are so crazy about these things. They are so busy with these things. So which make themselves its abuser of abuse word. It is really interesting. That's why I'm saying we need to go to clear investigates. I really hope. We hear so many stories about sexual abuse here there. With politicians it happens, right? Politicians it happens. Normally the ones they are kind of successful one, and then the many stories follows them. And any other kind of public figures come out, and then these stories come. So that's why the spiritual master is the same thing. It's the same mechanical, but politicals and public figures, the story comes, so the investigation is involved, and at end they say who's right, who's wrong, and we have a kind of clear answer. But many spiritual cases, we don't have this kind of answer. I think that's pity, right? A guru is accused, okay, in the law, right? Investigation, this and that, okay, at end, it's a real sexual abuse, the guru, or it's a maybe, I don't know, it can happen, right? Do you understand? Maybe it can be just a love drama. So in this case, story, it's easy to happen, and bad news easy to spread like a wildfire. But then what is the final result? We need to know that part too. So I hope, there will be some kind of final results, this kind of investigations too, right? Recently, there are many teachers, they are accused of this and that, but there is no like final conclusion. So I think that's a little bit pity, right? If there's a final conclusion, then we can finish the movie. We can watch the movie. Okay, this and that. Okay, one movie is finished. We go another movie. And then the Buddhist master this, okay, I resign from my organization. Okay, now I'm out from my organization, and my organization will keep this. And then maybe also this, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize for all sentient beings, blah, blah. This kind of very generic apology statement, these things. I don't think this is a real solution. So that's why I think something, this kind of sexual abuses and these things, I think it's good. It's to make it clear in a samsara way, I mean in a like ordinary way to make things clear. I think that's very important. But then what I can do is about education. This is the reason, I published the book. So hopefully it's helpful many people, and especially, if they see, okay, even my teacher says I can refuse. Okay, if my teacher is talking about Karmamudra, and now here I have some information, I want to talk with my teacher, if my teacher really knows about Karmamudra or not. Do you understand? And most of cases are like that. Mm-hmm. And some people, they are saying, oh, I dedicated my book for sexual, abuse victims. They say, oh, this is not like why a Karmamudra book is dedicated for them. Okay, I had some reactions like this. Yeah, maybe one or two people are saying like, your dedication is already wrong. Do you understand? So I don't think it's anything wrong. And actually, Karmamudra itself is the path of the bliss and the joy. And so many people, instead of they experience bliss and joy, they experience pain and suffering. So that's why to dedicating that, I don't think anything is wrong. Mm-hmm.
Should we end here, or do you have time for a question more?
Well, you can ask some more questions.
Okay. I'd like to talk a bit more about the criticism you've received for writing and releasing the Karmamudra book. And I'd also like to talk actually a bit about trauma. But what advice would you give to a young tulku, let's say, who perhaps is inexperienced in or a young lama of any kind, who is inexperienced socially or relationally, yet finds themselves in a position of a famous position? We know, of course, that it doesn't matter if you're a rock star or a politician or a religious teacher of fame. Fame is attractive. And people, as you said, there are all kinds of people interested in becoming close to a famous person or significant person. What advice would you give to young tulku or something like that who finds themselves in a rock star position like that, to sort out the spiritual gold diggers from the potential partners who can be engaged with in a healthy kind of a way?
Mm-hmm. Education. They need education. General word, I think they need to learn these things. They need education. That's very, very important. And maybe a little bit a bad word, maybe they need a therapy, psychotherapy too. Because, as you're saying, the young tulkus, they are, from the kids, they are treated in a special way. Probably many of them, they think they can just get whoever they want or whatever they want. So the educational part, the cultural part, there are some issues. And then, so that's why it's good, if they have some other people's like guidance or education, right? Or even like a psychotherapy. I don't know if some of the tulkus, if they are raised in an old traditional way, psychologically, they can connect with general public or not. So that's why I think the education is very, very important. And maybe mentally, some of them kind of completely spoiled or whatever, this and that, and they need some kind of therapy too, psychotherapy too, Do you understand? So basically, I think the main struggle in monasteries and tulkus and these things is like they can't talk these things to somebody openly. So that's why I'm saying if they talk to somebody, maybe it's kind of like a psychotherapy too, kind of form of psychotherapy. They can talk to people and they can have more information, understanding about, and so on. So for myself, when I was young boy, I was always had a kind of, in my young age, the desires, this and that, and to nobody, even to talk with your father or your brothers, it's a little bit kind of shame, you don't talk about these things, and then you don't know how to handle it. And then if you try to talk with your friends, like teenager friends, and maybe you are scared that they will laugh at you. Do you understand? So somehow you have to keep so many things inside. You have to cover so many things inside. And this is actually like also Lelong's biography. He talks about these things. As a young boy, as a young tulku, he grows up and he had so much this sexual desire and he didn't know what to do. And there was nobody, where he can talk, or there are no books he can read. So he find himself completely isolated and alone. and he got lost there. And then he also explains very clearly, like then somehow he learned how to masturbate, And then sometimes in his biography says he was giving the empowerment, and then he sees a very attractive like young girl. Of course, he was a young boy too, It's normal a young boy loves a young girl. And then he come back home and he can't stop thinking about her and he didn't know what to do. All these things. So you see, that's why there's really the lack of education and lack of support and guidance, And so that's why I think, especially today and the young tulkus, it's important to receive more educations, and not only the Dharma education. They need to receive the basic education about health, about sex, and about whatever relationship and so on. Like there are many, for example, here in the West, most of kids in the middle school or high school, they have an education about human body, physiological function, about sex, all this, about hygiene, about pregnancy, all these things, right? So similar way, but still I don't think it's enough, because I know so many young people, they still struggle here in the West. And this is the reason why 99% of young people, teenagers, they are kind of addicted to the porn movies. So why they're addicted to porn movies? Because they have that emotion, that feelings, but then no one to talk, no one to share. And then what they do? Okay, online, I Googled the porn. Okay, yes, this is all about sex. This is this. It's very addictive, but it's not only addictive, also kind of destroying your mind, and the porns, you see everything is, of course, they are actors and actresses, everything is staged. And then in the porn movie, when the young people, they watch, they want stronger and stronger ones, so more aggressive. So then at end is like a kind of a process of fighting and torturing and this and that. So you don't see much the intimacy, the connection, the power of hugging, the power of talking, the power of looking each other. Do you understand? The good energy, good vibe of the love and the sex and making love. Actually, I like this English expression, make love, right? It's a love, but we have to make it, we produce it. Actually, that's about when you are really in love with somebody, with your partner, what you do is you make love. And actually the making love process enhances the love, enhances the connection, enhances the, how do you say, understanding and prosperity and spreading the good energy and these things, right? But, and actually now our new generation, their sex education is not Kamasutra. I wish it was, and nor Karmamudra, but it's the porn movies. And their information, what they get is kind of very aggressive. Do you understand? And then this can this mentally, energetically, this can damage. And then they are not good, the real performance, right? Because real performance, what they remember is from the porn movies, what you need to do. Okay, you need to this, and they're kind of, like they're kind of possessed by the porn movies, and they want to do something like that. If they can do like that, they think, okay, I'm dysfunctional and this and that. It's kind of really like messing up, So that's why I think we need to bring up more education about sex. About sex, for me, I talk this because it's a medical subject. In the psychotherapy, there's some psychotherapy, especially about, for sex psychotherapy. And then also physical dysfunction, and it's a medical issue. So that's why I don't, maybe this is a little bit different than other Tibetan, lamas and teachers, because maybe they think, okay, sex is something, we should not talk about. But in medical field, we talk these things. I talk with this patient because they have these issues and they're talking to me. I try to find a solution for them. So for us, it's a professional, normal conversation going on, right? So that's why I'm more open-minded also in the tantric way. We need to bring it out. I'm not revealing the secrets. I'm just saying, I try to educate people. We need to know, we need to learn, because today, as His Holiness Dalai Lama says, the 21st century is the century of education, right? Education, information. So then in education, there are good education, there are bad education too. So that's why I'm saying the porn movies are becoming education too. It's a very bad education. So why not we bring more Kamasutra, Karmamudra, educate people better, and they have a better understanding. They have a better understanding themselves and their connection and connection to their partners, right? And so the ones who are criticizing my book, not so many, actually, I was expecting many more, very few. So I'm a little bit surprised. I always tell them, please first read my book. If you read my book, if you have issues, you talk to me. I'm happy to talk and discuss. But normally this, oh yeah, sex sells, you want to sell your books through your like this and that. I said, that's not my motivation. My motivation is I want to educate people. I want to help people. And I want to also, help people that they can defend themselves, they can protect themselves, right? But then in any case, if somebody think negatively, you cannot change their mind, They think, okay, sex sells. Yes, you wrote this for make yourself famous. And I said, please read the book. Really, the funny thing is, I think most of people, they read the book. I didn't have any reactions and questions, but the ones who saying, oh, why you make it public? Oh, like you are this and that. Those ones, they don't read the book and they try to criticize my book, That's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned there energetic consequences of watching pornography, and you also in your book talk about dip, or the subtle pollution of the channels that can come from multiple partners, random partners, and so on. Can you talk a little bit about what dip is and its consequences, and in what way, if at all, it can be repaired?
Well, everything can be repaired, Every poison has their own medicines. And multiple partners. I think maybe our human nature is not, we are always kind of multiple partners. We have partners to partners. Maybe we want to find the right one. I think maybe. And one day when we find the right one, then we stop there and then everything's okay. And, I think this kind of thing. But then some people are kind of like, how do you say, using the name of, yes, tantric sex. Oh, I like it. I want to do with everyone without responsibilities, without any of these things. I think, that those things can be harmful, can be harmful. But then the energy, we call it the trip. Trip means, if you like go around, if you sleep with many people, maybe you get these negative energies. And then you have to do lots of Vajrasattva to purify. Actually, there was a scientific research, I think somewhere from UK. I don't know if you read it, And the women, they said they have DNA in their brain, If any man, they ejaculated in their genital in vagina, they said one part of this man's DNA is women's brain. Did you read that article?
Mm-hmm. I did. I've read that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and how about, my question is, how about for men? Maybe the man also receiving something from women. Does it say anything about that?
No, but I think there's also some interesting research about pair bonding, that many partners can reduce the ability of people to pair bond.
So in that case, it's better to have multiple partners, or?
Well, in this particular research, it was suggesting that multiple partners reduces the ability to pair bond.
Exactly. Bonding. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, in a scientific way, let's call it that is the tip, the negative energy you receive, right? Especially, can you imagine if you had so many partners and part of their energy stays in your brain forever? And so if you sleep around with crazy people, you collect many crazy DNA. So yeah, I really like to, how do you say, explain and understand things very clearly. And that's why sometimes this kind of, I'm not saying all scientific researches are right, but many of these researches are very useful, and it helps us to understand, also the traditional way what we are talking. So that's why I'm always fascinated. I like to read articles and all about these kind of things. I think yeah, these things are really really interesting. And then what I really believe, actually, this the great master Kamla Namka Jatso. So he was a Karmamudra master, and actually he had many partners in his life, because in this case sometimes he kind of he's teaching directly to Karmamudra, but it seems sometimes he was asked by his some female disciples, so, oh, we know you are the great Karmamudra master. Maybe they think, okay, quick, let's do something, and then I'm enlightened. I think in different ways. He didn't say clearly, but it's an interesting story. I think which is also usual. That's why I'm saying maybe it's not always the master. The yogi goes there to grab the yoginis, and sometimes yoginis they really want, grab them. So he said, yeah, in his life, he had so many partners. Actually, he says it's not good, he's not good. He says it's not like, you have more partners, you have more experiences, you get more enlightened. So I love that because he said that with his experiences. Okay. It seems he had 100 of partners. And that's why he says, don't search many partners, You really, of course, then we very often we talk about the Longchen. Longchen is like profiles, normally we have a karmic partner or your masters, or maybe you dream about them. I know when you have this, when you have connection with somebody, karmically, spiritually, there is something. So we don't need to explain much. And then if you find that person, also you're not craving with others, because whatever you want it is from that partner, right? So that is called karmic partner, So you are fully satisfied, you are fully connected and fully understandable, and yeah, full love, right? So I think that's the bounding, Once you are kind of in that wave, then you don't need to craving, because maybe some people think, okay, I sleep more with more people, then I get more better energies. Actually, like that we are talking about this article, we're collecting more garbage, garbages, yeah.
Okay, perhaps my last question then. You've mentioned there about traumas, and you say, you write in your book, Karmamudra, in my work as a doctor, I come across many patients who have been sexually abused from a young age, and they have enormous trauma. And I'm curious how it is as a medical doctor and also a spiritual teacher, in the traditions in which you've been trained, how is trauma seen and dealt with? How do you deal with situations like this where someone comes to you with traumas? What advice do you give? In what way is trauma seen and dealt with in those traditions? Are there any special considerations in the case of sexual trauma?
Yeah, like mostly the sexual traumas, many people, they have sexual dysfunction syndrome. So it means they're not, kind of open or properly ready for, sexual intercourse and these things. So it takes time, And the tantric, we can say like the channels are blocked, the base channel, or the chakra has the channels. So the base chakra, we have 32 petals. Let's say it's a blockage of the petals. So that's why it's especially what I believe is sexually traumatized, this trauma healing, if they learn about themselves, their body, like a meditation of Karmamudra, I think it really helps them to relax and to reconnect with themselves. And all blockage channels can be reopened. Do you understand? So like we say the poison cures the poison. The poison is very strong, so we need to use a very strong medication, right? That's the physics or chemistry, how also our uh, chemical drugs it works. We use the stronger drugs or dosage, for stronger disease. And so this is the reason why also karma mudra is important, because if people have more sexual desire and the feeling and these things, if they practice karma mudra, it works them better, right? Because that's their nature. And the same way, like Longchen says, the angry people, some people, they're always short temper and stress this. It's good to do the deity yoga with the wrathful deities, Some deities are very wrathful, and then the mantra. Then, because they have this nature of anger, and somehow the deity also kind of expression of anger, and then it matches to their nature, and they can release this way, their anger, releasing or to balance their anger. And then the people who is ignorant is the Ati yoga. So, Ati yoga. And without learning much, without doing much, and how directly you can meditate on Ati yoga. I think that's also very, very beautiful way to express, Like I said, the tigle, the three type of tigle is their antidotes for three mental poisons. So in the old school, Nyingma school, Maha Yoga, Anu Yoga, Ati Yoga, three yogas are also antidote or three mental poisons, right? And so the same way, like then we have homeopathy, right? Homeopathy is the same nature cured by the same nature. So then in that case, I think like the poisons. So the trauma itself is with sexual trauma, and meditation is meditation about sex. Do you understand? So that's like more homeopathic, similarity, the same energy cures the same problem, right? So somehow through this we can process it, we can process it. And then, of course, we have kind of also allopathic way to meditate. It's, okay, let it go, forgive, let it go, forgive, and, don't think of them, like this kind of opposite way. Oh, even somebody tortured you, somebody this and that, and, generate your love and kindness to them and compassion, let it go. So I think that's a little bit, the trauma is anger and aggression. So you use the opposite, like love and compassion, kindness, understanding. So some people, they can unblock that way too. Maybe that takes more time. But then this meditation is, this antidote, probably we can say more homeopathic antidote, right? The trauma is the sexual trauma, but the healing also about sexual meditation. Does it make sense?
Yes, that's fascinating. That's fascinating.
There are some meditations with breathing. Normally we have the mindful breathing. This mindful breathing is it's the joyful mindful breathing, or the blissful mindful breathing. When you breathe and you work with your tigre, bring up and down, and you experience this. It might take time, but it's a very nice practice which helps us to reconnect with our body, with our channels, and with our energy. And then from there, like we can make it a restart everything.
Dr. Nida, thank you so much for a fascinating interview. Your 2018 book, Karmamudra, the Yoga of Bliss, really fascinating book. I really recommend, if anyone has been interested in this interview and the things we discussed, to get that book. Dr. Nida Chenagtsang, thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a question for you. Did you read my book?
Of course.
How is it? Tell me the truth, your personal view about this book.
I liked it a lot. I think the thing that I found interesting about it, of course, the content in terms of the exercises and so on, very wonderful and very natural way, I think. And in fact, I won't say that. So the interesting thing that I think you had to deal with.
It's easy. Answering is not so easy.
That's why I asked the questions. Yeah, the thing that's difficult that you had to deal with is a number of issues. On the one hand, you have the traditional suppressive cultural approach, which one has to be careful about how one navigates that. On the other hand, there's the overreaction currently, as you said, of sex is there's a hysteria actually about sex and about power and all these things where everything is an abuse, like you mentioned. It seems that talking about sex at all, yes, on the one hand, people may accuse you of trying to become famous, writing a book about sex, and it probably worked. Lots of people found out about you who did not know about you because this book is about sex. But on the other hand, you're really setting yourself up for possibly big problems. Because if you start talking about sex, then you put a big target on your chest, and any wrinkle in your own behavior or accusations and so on and so forth, of course, much more, much more likely, because the people have an invested interest, get very reactive about the subject and start saying, who is this Dr. Nida? Both sides, in other words. Even though both sides are so opposite, you become a target for both sides. So I do not envy you for putting out a book like this. I think it's a big risk and a great service, and it was very balanced. You really brought sanity and opened up the conversation. This book, I think, opens up a lot of conversation. It's a lot of opening up conversation. That's my personal view.
Yeah, I like your personal view. It's true. It's an opening. It's probably the first book about Karmamudra, and it's not so easy, to balance what modern people they think and what tradition is, and then there is one big question also about semen retention. That's normally people get so many questions. Semen retention, and the classical texts, the semen retention is very, very important. And then, but some great masters like Lelong said, we should not do too much. It can be harmful too, which is medically, it's true. Today there's a scientific proof too. And so I try to also bridge the spiritual part and medical part and try to give both information. So that can help me to balance a little bit. But then, what you said, I like what you said. It's like, then I'm myself is becoming a target, of others. Maybe I thought about that a little bit, I thought that a little bit. And, but then at the end I said, I have to believe in myself. I have to trust in myself. And, I have to be aware of my intentions and my work, or my behaviors and so on. So I thought, if personally criticized or accused or whatever happens, I thought I'm ready. I really wanted to open this subject, because otherwise, it's like this, the stories of the sexual abusers and Buddhism. This, I think, in general is going like a little bit crazy, and there is no answer. So that's why I thought, okay, even I will be the targeted, but I want to bring it out. And then there is a Chinese proverb, I like it. It says, you throw the bricks, but somebody will throw the jade. So it means it's important you start, Maybe the thing what you start is an ordinary brick, not so important and not so precious, but because you start to throw it out, then maybe somebody else will throw the jade brick or the diamond brick. So that's why, yeah, I think it's a kind of start that we can talk about this and know more about this, yeah.
Dr. Nida, you also mentioned here that the most common question you receive about this book and about this set of teachings is about semen retention. Of course, classically, is said to be essential for correct practice of spiritual sex. But your views differ somewhat from that classical view. Could you explain some?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question, and the most common question I receive. And yeah, in according to all classical tantric texts, says semen retention is very, very important. So that's the ancient information. So modern medical science says semen retention or losing semen doesn't make much change. And even if we lose the semen often, it's refreshing, reproducing. That higher the quality of semen. So there are two kind of completely different informations, So I try to let people understand, the spiritually is the restriction of losing semen, and scientifically kind of encouraging us to lose semen. I think it's an interesting topic. And then also tantric text says we should not lose semen, but then there are some other occasions also we should lose the semen. And so one of this losing semen is enhancing the meditation experiences. That's a very interesting part. But then, as I said, in the Tantra, we have this very logic and academic and approach about explanations, why we should not lose semen and reasons and, quotations from which Tantra and which masters, all this kind of very intellectual approach about this. Then the other part is, the answers are coming from, answers and understandings are coming from experience, the great masters. So in this case, I would say Lelong Shape Dorje is one of the most qualified historical master, and he says this clearly. He said, yeah, all tantric texts says don't lose semen. Actually, he says not so practical. So I'm really surprised, because when you read his books, he's very precise, Lelong Shape Dorje. He's he's almost like Jetsung Kaba, very philosophical and very kind of hitting the point. And, he, debate part is very sharp, very intellectual. But when he comes about this, he says, yes, many texts, and especially the original tantric text says don't lose semen, and he said it can cause health issues, kamejong, chronic kidney issues. So I know that now we know it's more referred to the chronic kidney issue. Some of these are connected, prostate problems, right? So all the the prostatic, like enlargement of prostate or prostatitis, inflammation of prostate or prostate tumor, cancer. And I think ancient time is more referred to the kidney issues. Actually, that what he said is very accurate. He said it's not good to retain the semen too much. It can cause health issues. So he said that very clearly in 17th century. But then according to Tibetan medicine, it says it is important to release the semen. If we keep too much, again, it can cause different health issues, So that's why I try to balance in the information. And in that book, I think I quoted one, this scientific information. It says in a month to ejaculating 21 times, it's something healthy for prostate. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I don't know. But I can't change the scientific research. I put that one too. But what I can tell people is really like all our individual questions, right? And some people also, they have this post-ejaculation syndrome. It means after ejaculation and they feel exhausted and tired and, lack of energy and so on. So if you guys have that kind of symptoms, maybe it's better you don't ejaculate. And then I know young people, even they ejaculate, they always have energy, power, they don't lose anything. So that's why at end, I think it's important we have to find a balance, the original tantric teaching and medical science together. We have to find balance by ourselves. And also some people are very kind of paranoid, losing semen, wet dreams. And this, if you are more having fear and scared and this, and if people are having this post-ejaculation syndrome, it's the interesting thing is we mentioned already about homeopathic method, but if they ejaculate a few times, kind of exercise for their muscles and prostate, all these things, and then somehow they can get back their energy. So that's why I think also it depends on your age, your situation and your body condition and these things. But we really need to have a good understanding according to our own conditions. So that's what I can say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You might find this interesting, but I think the power of mental suggestion is very strong in things like post-ejaculation fatigue.
And they feel guilt, yeah.
Yeah, guilt. And that's a lot of the weight of the post-ejaculation response can come if people believe it's wrong or they're losing their energies, then of course they feel terrible about having done that after they've done it.
Yeah, well, medically in our ejaculation, like we have proteins and zinc, calcium, there are like chemical substances, but many of them we can regain it through food, right? So according to Tibetan medicine, every 7 days, our sperm and semen is completely like refreshed. And medically, like every day is millions of sperms are produced by this body. So I think, it's good we try to balance this thing. Otherwise, not losing semen, and sometimes they lose, and then it's becoming a psychosomatic problem too, right? And I like this Tibetan medicine says somehow we need to follow the body's urge, right? If we feel cough, it's better we cough. If we repress the cough, and that in the longer term that might affect our lungs breathing. If we feel the sneeze, and this is better sneeze. And if we need to pee, it's better we pee. So holding too much pee, it can damage the muscle function of urinary bladder. And if extremely holding, the urine can travel back to the kidney and it can even destroy the kidney function, right? So the body is a reaction, and body has a reaction, body has a nature. We need to listen to the body and we need to follow that, right? So otherwise some people think, it's better I meditate, pee is kind of secondary. I have to finish my meditation. If they do this frequently, it can be very harmful. So, body is giving this signal because we need to clean the urinary bladder. Body is giving the signal we need to clean our colon, our rectums, right? And the same way, our body is giving a signal we are nauseous, we need to vomit. It's better to vomit out, That emetic, this is a therapy too. It's an automatic therapy. So that's why body is urging and needing ejaculation, and maybe not all time or too much, but time to time we need to do it, So I think, that part is, that is also the reason why in some practices says ejaculating is enhancing the meditation experiences. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to another Guru Viking podcast. For more interviews like these, as well as articles, videos, and guided meditations, visit www.guruviking.com.